You're listening to In Our Headphones.
Your chance to discover the songs KEXP DJs don't want you to miss. I'm Janice Headley.
And I'm Isabel Khalili. And this is your never-ending source for new music discovery from listener-powered KEXP.
Hey everyone, Janice here, and I am so excited about this week's guest. So earlier this year, KEXP began broadcasting in the Bay Area at 92.7 FM. And it has just been such an exciting expansion, allowing us to reach listeners in the San Francisco and Oakland area. And then in August, we launched the show Vinelands, which is our Bay Area local music show. And today we welcome one of the two co-hosts. And last week, Isabel chatted with Gabriel Lopez. And this week, we get to meet the other co-host, Kelley Stoltz. Hey, Kelley, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am very great. I'm very happy to have you on the show. And part of the reason why I'm so excited is because I still remember when, this is your first time on KEXP as a DJ, but it's not your first time on KEXP as an artist, because I still remember when you signed to Sub Pop Records in 2005, and we added your music to rotation.
Aw, somebody's got to do it.
Jesus Christ, what you've been doing all this time.
When it happened, I was thrilled.
Aww.
I was so grateful. When I became a DJ here, one of my main things that I was pitching to say I would be good at this is I want to give that buzz to the young kids who are working on music now. I want to give that buzz to the band from 1982 that nobody cared about then, and just let them know, hey, we hear you and we dig it and we want other people to hear it. So KEXP does a great job of that with artists old and new, and just want to jump in and continue that tradition and bring it along to, people in the Bay. I spend a lot of time on the internet reading about music, digging into records that I like, looking for more. That's always been part of my day. And now I get a chance to share what I find, to play stuff I love that I've always wanted to play. I was big as a kid in making mixtapes for my father, who they were divorced. So when I'd go visit my dad,
Dad, here's the Thompson twins. It's very, you really got to listen to this.
And, I would make him mixtapes and I would talk in the song in between. And so I think the DJ DNA has been in me my whole life. I love listening to radio. I love listening to terrestrial radio. And I am really glad KEXP is here.
I love it. We are so lucky to have you on board.
I'll say.
And I know, agreed. And listeners, if you are in the Bay Area, you can listen to Vinelands every Saturday night from 6 to 9 p.m. Pacific on 92.7 FM.
That's right. Lay down on your couch, make dinner, whatever you got to do. You will be surprised, delighted, aggravated, and ultimately totally fulfilled.
Yes, you will. And if you live outside of the area, don't be disappointed. You can also listen to Vinelands on demand on the KEXP website on Mondays. Right now, it's not updating automatically on the website. We've been doing it manually. So, give us about midday Monday, but we will have it up for you to listen, and you can listen around the world. And if you're in the Bay Area, we invite you to join us for Spin Around the Bay, a record store takeover. We will be broadcasting live from a different record store each day of the week from October 21st to October 25th. Discodelic Records, Dark Entries, and Originals Vinyl in San Francisco, and Econojam Records and Contact Records in Oakland. And you can get all the details at kexp.org/events.
Those are all great stores. I've spent money and time at all of them.
Nice.
We are really lucky in the Bay to have so many great record shops, so many mom and pop independent places to go. And, all those are cool.
I love it. So, Kelley, let's get into what's been in your headphones lately.
Yeah, well, I've got a couple picks. And as you know, on Vinelands, we are all Bay Area all the time. Bay Area, past, present, future, San Francisco, Oakland, Alameda, Sacramento, Modesto, San Jose, up and down the coast. As long as you could kind of like hit a golf ball to it, it qualifies. But I am excited because I get to leave the Bay Area.
Yes.
4 songs to show that there is life outside. Is there? Yes, there is. So, yeah, Vinelands is Bay Area specific, but I was really happy to see that I could, step outside that little box and play stuff that means something to me from around the world.
Awesome. What's the first track that you brought today?
I brought Anna Erhard. I brought a song called Campsite.
I used to have a good time on the campsite. I used to get compliments for my tan lines. Once I got so close and then 1 second right. I was this close to being this campsite.
Anna Erhard is from Germany. I believe she lives in Berlin, and I played with her at a festival in Norway in July. I'd never heard of Anna, but my bass player, who digs all kinds of music, he's a British guy. He said, I'm definitely going to see Anna Erhard. She's great. So I was like, okay, and I remember going, yeah, I'll stay for a song. And then I stayed for 2, and then I stayed for 3. And they were fantastic. She was really my favorite artist I think I saw.
One of the few beaches with real sand. I used to have a good time on that campsite. I used to get compliments for my tan lines. I used
But
to
Campsite is a story about, it just sounds like a story about going, I can imagine her at some summer camp in her teens, and she talks about having the best tan lines and winning a contest for the most mosquito bites. So it's like that kind of song. So as a songwriter, I would love to not be stuck in existential crisis mode when I'm writing lyrics and just get down to memories of summer camp. That's a really good thing.
I used to have a good time on that campsite. I was the leader because I had the most mosquito bites.
You just heard Campsite by Berlin-based artist, we're pretty sure, Anna Erhard, the title track off her 2022 album. All right, Kelley, what song do you have next for us?
Next up on my list, the wonderful, the legendary, the iconic Kim Deal. Kim Deal's song, Crystal Breath.
Beat by beat, I'm feeling out of phase. Just another domino falling on my face. Beat on the inside, beat's gonna lead on and on.
I gotta say, when I put these songs together on the list, I felt a kindred spirit between Anna Erhard's sound and Kim Deal's sound, kind of in the crunchy snare drums, and it took me to like a Beck Odelay era where there was a funky element and weird sampley sounds and just like delightful use of studio to make things sound cool. Kim Deal has a thing, a vocal thing, and I would say probably the same with her bass lines with the Pixies, instantly recognizable as her. That's not an easy thing to do. I mean, I've spent a lifetime of music trying to figure out who am I, and I'm like, I'm like a Peter Sellers of music. I have no actual personality. I am a conglomeration of like 18 characters. Okay, I feel a little Brian Wilson here, or I feel a little Paul Westerberg, or man, I want to write a song like Arthur Lee would do. What chord would Arthur Lee put in here? Kim Deal is Kim Deal all the time.
Yes,
Every record,
yeah.
you put it on and you go, I know that's her. And here it is, solo record. There's her doubled vocal. She just does this thing with a harmony that is her, and it's beautiful, and it's a sound that is just pleasing. It's just pleasing as hell to hear Kim Deal sing. And so I think that this is just a really cool song.
If I can be a little self-indulgent, KEXP has another podcast called The Cobain 50, where we are tracking Kurt Cobain's 50 favorite albums that he wrote about in his journals. And we just did an episode on The Breeders' Pod. And so I have been deep in the Kim Deal world, researching and writing and recording this podcast. And then I saw her on your list and I was like, my girl.
Let's start a new life. Beat's gonna lead us. Live on. My crystal breath shatters you. The freak of your imagination sparkles into view. Beat on the inside. Beat's gonna lead us. Lead on.
You just heard the track Crystal Breath by the great Kim Deal. And you can find that on her forthcoming debut solo full-length, Nobody Loves You More, which will be released November 22nd via her longtime label, 4AD Records. And you can hear that song in its entirety in a few different ways. Using the In Our Headphones playlist over on Spotify, the What's in Our Headphones playlist on YouTube, or at kexp.org/podcasts, and just click on today's show page. So Kelley, tell us a little bit about the next song you brought today.
The next song is by Robyn Hitchcock, and the song is called Vacations in the Past. We've all done it, haven't we? We just didn't write about
That's
it, but
true.
we're all doing it.
He did.
I take my vacation in the past. Rock on, my love. I take my vacation, and they last forever.
He knows how to write it, and Vacations in the Past is, I guess, sort of a descriptive song about Robyn's state of mind on a record called 1967. And for this record, it's sort of a companion to a book he wrote about the year 1967 and where he was in life. I think it has a subtitle like 1967.
Oh, it's 1967, How I Got There and Why I Never Left.
Exactly. So he's written a great book. He's taken the typical rock biography and sort of micro-focused on just the turning point period in his life when he got turned on to the Beatles and Pink Floyd and Bob Dylan. And Vacations in the Past kind of explains why he is like he is and about this record. And there's beautiful, as pretty much every Robyn Hitchcock song, beautiful lyrics and beautiful imagery.
Aww.
And so I have gotten to be playing with Robyn over the last few years. I play drums for him, which is a real thrill. You know, he was one of my favorite songwriters as a young man, as a kid, and as a person just starting to write his own songs. I was really heavily listening to his I record, which was actually recorded in San Francisco.
Oh, wow.
will get what they deserve. Time is round and space is curved. Honey, have you got the nerve to be Queen Elvis?
That's kind of more acoustic folky, which is, where my head was at the time when I didn't own an electric guitar, so everything I wrote was acoustic. And that was a real sort of roadmap for me on how to write a good, heartfelt, psychedelic song. And he's a master.
He is.
He's one of the great writers of our time, of any time. So getting to play with him has been a thrill and an honor and a mind trip of some kind.
I bet.
And he sent me this song and asked me if I wanted to play some on it. So I play sitar on this song. There's a bit of meow, 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 meow. Yeah.
That is so. This is like an in our headphones first.
Feel my love. I take my rejection in my stride.
And he came to my house and we were rehearsing, me and him and my friend Rusty, doing kind of acoustic, some piano, some real soft tambourine, shaker, rhythmic stuff. And I think we got halfway through practice and we got to a song and he's like, "Oh, if only someone had a sitar." And I was like, I've been waiting for this moment all my life. I have a sitar. Let me go get it. So I think his eyes sort of popped out.
I bet.
Really? And so I quickly, went to my back room, grabbed my sitar, brought it out, and I think that was sort of clinched the deal with him as far as like, all right, Kelley's cool. He's not a great drummer, but he does own a sitar, so he's in.
You just heard the track Vacations in the Past by Robyn Hitchcock, the one original track on his latest album of cover songs titled 1967 Vacations in the Past, and that just came out in mid-September. And finally, every week we've been asking our DJs to share a song with our listeners that doesn't have to be anything new, just something that has a special meaning to them. And Kelley, what song did you pick?
I picked Echo and the Bunnymen, Silver.
Swung from a chandelier, my planet sweet on a silver salver, bailed out my worst fears, 'cause man has to be his own savior, blind sailor.
They're my favorite band of all time. Are the Beatles my favorite band? Probably, but if you ask me who's had the biggest effect on my life and got me going as a teenager, it was the Bunnymen.
How did you first discover them?
I have a stepbrother who's about 10 years older, and luckily my stepbrother was passing through and ended up living with his dad and my mom for a couple months one summer, and he brought some of his records, and they ended up staying in my bedroom after he left. He shifted me from like, I love baseball and football and Star Wars to, wow, he's so cool and he's into this music. I'm going to get into this music,
Wow.
So in his collection was like Tones on Tail, New Order, OMD, David Bowie, a lot of like Skinny Puppy, Severed Heads. He had an industrial vibe. And then there was a Bunnymen record. I think it was Porcupine and Ocean Rain in there. And this was around 84. And for some reason, the gorgeousness of both those covers of Porcupine and Ocean Rain, they're in nature. They didn't look like any of the other records. They spoke to me. And I remember kind of looking at it and thinking, wow, that looks cool. That's going to be my band. Not long after I started to smoke cigarettes, I got a long black trench coat. My mom started putting Aquanet in my Christmas stockings, you know. So, yeah, so I had the hair, I had the overcoat, and I just worshipped Ian McCulloch, Echo and the Bunnymen.
Oh,
and
my gosh.
Would stay home. And they were the first band that, like, I was in front of a mirror with a tennis racket, like lip syncing. You know, it was like the Elvis Presley for me. So they changed my life. They made me want to become a musician. I didn't know how. It didn't get me to like pick up a guitar at 15. I didn't do that until I was in my 20s, really. But I did start a band in 1985 called Distorted Reality. Ooh. And that was 8th grade. So that would have been summer of 85 going into 86. And we played, the first song we learned was Silver by Echo and the Bunnymen.
The sky is blue, my hands untied. A world that's true through our clean eyes. Just look at you with burning lips. You're living proof at my fingertips.
A lot to learn for 3, 13, 14-year-olds who don't have an orchestra handy. Yeah, so I just had a long-term love of the Bunnymen, and 2016 they called me and they needed a rhythm guitar player.
Oh!
And they were like, we're in a bit of a pinch. Our regular guitar player's mother is ill. He can't do this tour. Could you do it? And I was like, yes. And I did the tour, and Ian asked me to stay, and I ended up being in the band for 3.5 years.
Wow. Oh, my gosh.
So I got to live all my dreams and play with the band that got me started in everything and made me, interested in all the things I'm interested in musically. So this song means a lot to me.
Understandably, my God.
The sky is blue, my hands untied. A world that's true through all clean eyes. Just look at you with burning lips. You're living proof at my fingertips.
You just heard Echo and the Bunnymen and the track Silver, going back to their 1984 album Ocean Rain. And that was a foundational track pick from Kelley Stoltz. Kelley, thank you so much for being our guest this week. This has been so much fun.
It's been great. We love talking about music, don't we?
Absolutely. We could go longer, but I don't know if our podcast listeners will stick around. If you live in the Bay Area, check out Vinelands, co-hosted by Kelley, Saturday nights from 6 to 9 p.m. Pacific on 92.7 FM and streaming live via KEXP.org and the KEXP apps exclusively in Northern California. If you live outside of the area, you can listen to their shows on demand on the KEXP website. We've been uploading these on Mondays after the show airs. Bear with us as they aren't archiving automatically yet, but they will soon. Right now, we're just having to do everything manually, just to make sure that you, the listener, have a chance to listen on demand. And if you're in the Bay Area, we invite you to join us for Spin Around the Bay, a record store takeover. We'll be broadcasting live from a different record store each day of the week, October 21st through the 25th. Discodelic Records, Dark Entries and Originals Vinyl in San Francisco, and Econo Jam Records and Contact Records in Oakland. You can get more details at kexp.org/events. And now we're going to check in with KEXP's music director, Chris Sanley. Hey, Chris.
Hey, Janice.
So every week, Chris is listening to thousands of songs, adding new singles and albums to KEXP's rotation. And of all the new music you've heard lately, what track has been stuck in your headphones?
I cannot get enough of Bul 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 by Sebastian.
Gece gündüz bilmez şu garip gözlerim, huzur nedir bilmez, seni arar
just been transfixed, by their really dope fusion of like 70s psych and 60s pop with some like tropicalia and jazz in the mix. It's so good.
Totally. And I love the solo in there and I wouldn't know this if I hadn't watched it on social media, but they're playing a gangsa pamade, which I learned is an Indonesian metallophone that's used in gamelan music.
Baş başayken romantik, insan içinde apatik. Anlamadım ben seni. Kur artık dengeni. Kur şu dengeni.
And they write, we fell in love with this sound that not only is rich in harmonics, but has a certain microtonal flavor that is distinct to Indonesia. And it just like takes this track to a whole nother level.
100%. And yeah, like, I just love the different layers that they build with this track and how they do that, like it starts with that killer bass line that really like sucks you in. And then, you get like the guitar, then the funky drum patterns and like some xylophone. And it just already like has this really great movement and rhythm going. And then they're kind of like, oh wait, not funky enough. Let's add some saxophone. And then like all of that is before, Merv jumps in with her amazing vocals too. So it just like, it keeps building and building and building. And the payoff is just so great. And yeah, with like incorporating a lot of different like sounds from around the globe.
Absolutely, because you've got like French pop in there. You've got like some Turkish clarinet going. You've got this Indonesian metallophone. It is a trip around the world.
Kid Sebastian's just the ticket. So if you need to just like groove and get out of your head, I feel like this is a great place to go.
Well, let's take a trip. This is Kid Sebastian and the track Bull, Bull, Bull.
Ne olursun kır şu kabuğunu.
You just heard the track Bull, Bull, Bull from London duo Kid Sebastian. You can find that on their latest album, New International, which just came out last week via Brainfeeder. And that was an In Our Headphones pick from our music director, Chris Sanley. Thank you to Chris, thank you to Kelley, and thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of In Our Headphones. You can listen to the songs featured on today's episode in their entirety in so many different ways. There's the In Our Headphones playlist on Spotify, the What's in Our Headphones playlist on YouTube, and you can visit the show page at kexp.org/podcasts. There are also links to the artist Bandcamp pages so you can support them with a purchase if you'd like. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe, rate, and review, or share it with a friend. We'd also love to hear from you if you have feedback. You can write to us directly at headphones@kexp.org. KEXP is an independent nonprofit radio station, so this podcast, along with all of our programming, is made possible by the generous support of our listeners. If you'd like to be one of those generous supporting listeners, you can make a donation of $6 a month at kexp.org/headphones. In Our Headphones is hosted and produced by Isabel, Khalili, and myself, Janice Headley. Audio was mixed by Roddy Nikpour and mastered by William Myers. And our director of editorial is Larry Mizell Jr. Our theme song is How Ma by the band Chinese American Bear. Tune in next week as I'll be chatting with John Gilbreth, longtime KEXP DJ and host of Jazz Theater. And he'll be sharing some of his fave new tracks leading up to the Earshot Jazz Festival here in Seattle. I'm Janice Headley. See you next time on In Our Headphones from listener-powered KEXP, where the music matters.